Welcome to Between Data and Risk podcast. Today we'll be talking about data communities. To discuss with us different aspects of community building, we've invited Ravit Jain, the head community evangelist at AtScale and host of the Ravit Show podcast. Stay tuned. If you're a business owner or senior manager, you probably had more than enough about all the wonderful opportunities awaiting you in the era of digitalization.
Whether it is big data, cloud, data science, or whatever buzzword is currently trendy.
If you would like to hear someone dissecting these claims and showing you what it actually takes to improve business processes, you're in the right place.
This is Between Data and Risk, where we discuss real-life examples of what works and what doesn't in the world of business operations.
Hello, I'm Artur Cognition Shared Solution Chief Risk and Strategy Officer, and with me is my co-host, your friendly neighborhood data guy, Dr. Marian.
Hello, everyone.
Welcome to this episode of Between Data and Risk. Today we'll be talking about data communities, and we're excited to have with us as our guest Ravit Jain, Head Community Evangelist at AtScale, Data Community Builder, founder and host of The Ravit Show, who agreed to share some of his experience with us. Hello, Ravit.
Hi, Arthur. Hi, Marian. Thanks for having me on the show. Love the work that you guys are doing, and obviously enjoy your podcast. Enjoy the guests who you have already, interviewed. Can't wait to share more about the data community building today with our audience. And not only just that, I'm looking forward to this discussion.
Yeah. We truly believe that you are, let's say, well equipped to provide value to our audience. I think that your experience talking to many data people in your show gives you a meta perspective, which is very valuable and much broader than single experts. So how about we start with you telling our audience what is data community? Like, how do you understand data community? Because we will get to why and how, but let's start with the definition of what is the topic.
Yeah, I think with how I see at the data community is, first of all, it's the humans who are and the data professionals who are making this community, but it's where you're bringing all the data professionals under one roof, and this roof could be anything. It could be a Slack channel, it could be a conference, it could be something around the lines where we do regular meetups, or it could be something on the lines where you are putting out content and you are creating a community for yourself. And in terms of obviously the data community, it's about attracting the right people to join your community. This could be your own LinkedIn community. This could be your own network as well. If you're growing your network in this space and having those, if you're kind of creating the content for the data professionals, you're kind of creating a good data community for yourself. People look at data community in various ways, where they feel that, our data community sits in our Slack channel or Discord channel. People also look at the data community sitting in their network. Like, it could be like where there are two ways of talking to the community, or maybe just the one way. Sometimes when you're just building a data community for your network and putting out content, it could be one way. But if folks are responding and engaging on your content, it's two way. But that's in a nutshell what I would say data community is. And anything or anywhere where you feel that there are a group of people, group of data professionals who are coming under one roof is data community for me.
So I have a question, because you mentioned data professionals. We are thinking about data communities within large organizations because our audience is mainly senior management. So are data communities limited to data professionals, or let's say data enthusiasts, and can they include the people who will be data, I would say, consumers, data users? Can it be a community which connects these data professionals with data consumers, or should it be a completely different forum? So the data community is for professionals, and if some enthusiasts or consumers want to connect, they need another forum? Or can data community be extended to include data users?
I think, it's about the data users, data consumers, not only just the data professionals, because today, when you talk about the data consumers, they want to be equally data literate as the data professionals. If they are getting into that field, they want to make sure that they are equally asking the right questions to these and maybe vendors, maybe the data professionals. So it kind of brings them a good opportunity to learn about the data space. And since they are consuming that type of content as well, they want to, or maybe using those tools, or implementing those skill sets, they want to make sure that they are part of those community as well. We've seen a lot of enterprise leaders now building communities as well, so which is kind of interesting, because when and these could be data professionals who are working at enterprise companies, but at the same time there are enterprise leaders who now feel it's important to bring the community together and learn from them, and at the same time impart the enterprise level knowledge to them and what the enterprise at a high level look like. So I feel, to obviously long answer to your short question is 100%. We want to include everyone to the community, maybe the consumer, maybe the user, maybe those who
Sure.
are the data professionals for sure, or maybe someone who's outside sitting as an enthusiast. And because I've seen, in the last few years, I've seen data enthusiasts become chief data scientist as well. So I've seen that roadmap of enthusiasts going a long way. And that is just possible because they have joined different types of communities. They've gone to different types of conferences, and they have made that impact in the community to become, and, to learn from the community and grow. So, yeah.
So if you were
one. Okay, let me kind of ask one. If I've worked with in some very big companies. My last company was HSBC, which, if I remember correctly, employs something like 220,000 people all over the world. And one thing I always was very wary about is the company building communities inside it, because I saw communities form, and those were usually people who had some common interest. But the moment that the company builds a community, or a community kind of emerges, and the company takes an interest and starts building it up, it all becomes very artificial. And there's a lot of people who show up just because they think they will get some brownie points from their boss for taking part. It stops being a natural kind of place where people can freely share their experience. Uh, how do you see this building of community? Who actually does the building, and how to actually make it work?
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Arthur, out there. I've seen myself where, companies have gone out, and, these are huge companies, and they want to build a community internally as well, just to create a good brand awareness, and at the same time also invite folks from outside. But what happens in such communities, it's more on the side where they're just talking about themselves. It's not something, where HSBC might talk about something else in terms of, what other vendors are doing, or maybe how the space. Obviously, I wouldn't expect if HSBC is coming up with a community, they would want to talk about their competitors, but at least about the space in general, because somewhere where data communities lose is when you start talking about yourself or start promoting yourself. And that's where people kind of lose the interest, because it's they feel like the data professionals or enthusiasts, or even the users, they feel we are kind of limited to just learning about this company. Or rather, we would want to be in a place where we can have a open agenda to talk about different things, and not only just stick to what technology this company is using, or how are they improving their methodologies or technology in the data world. So that kind of is the downside, and it doesn't work. If my advice to companies would be, if you're wanting to build a community, make sure that first of all, don't have your own employees in there. It won't help because everyone, like Arthur mentioned, everyone wants to have that brownie point to impress their own bosses, which can, which is like a downside because it will disinterest the community. Build a community which is neutral. You can invite all the vendors, all the data professionals, all the data users. Have those topics which are kind of interesting for the audience. Talk about the trending topics and talk in a way where you're giving equal attention to everyone in a community. Because if I start a community today, and we have 5,000 people in the community. The day we have like even 10 people, I'm kind of equal to them. I'm not an admin out there. I have to be treated equally, and everyone else has to be treated equally, where they're getting equal advantage since they're investing that time in that community. It kind of helps them to go a long way and learn from the community, and give them that space to talk about different things. Like even if they're talking about your competitors, give them that mileage, which can go a long way for them as well. Because if they're not getting that, I feel you're losing on community. Because most of the companies, like the first mistake that they do is adding their own employees in there. And when you have obviously say 5,000 people who are just of your company, I'm sure 10 of those would talk about the company itself just to feel that this is what we're doing, or maybe just amplify their own work in that external Slack
Mhm.
channel way, or any other platform. So that doesn't work. I feel the that kind of work is give everyone a neutral platform. Don't talk about your game. Okay, sometimes about some announcements you can put it out there and dig in your own nose, but I
But
still feel going out and keeping it equal, make the topics very much neutral, give everyone else that space to talk. That will go a
uh,
long way.
I would challenge it a little if you don't mind, because
Yeah, sure.
there are communities which are. I worked in big pharma, and there were
Yeah.
communities. Let's say again, 200, 300, 1,000 people. There
Yeah.
is a lot of people also who have something to say, but they need space to discuss stuff which may not be really discussed outside of the company. So these communities, in
Mm.
my experience, they should also, we should be able to create communities just for the company employees so they can discuss stuff which cannot be discussed somewhere else. Do you think it's also, because I understand that you are talking about this cross
Yeah.
cross company communities, open communities, and then starting such a community is a risk, because then it becomes your promotion platform, not the thought exchange platform. But do you think
Mm.
it's also feasible to create the communities for an interesting point to how they defended from brownie points? uh, the managers had no entry there. There were channels which were
Mm.
created for professionals, for users, but the managers were strictly prohibited from entering this space. They were not invited, not wanted, just to prevent. And it worked. People were
Mm.
discussing like data users with software developers, like so it was like software developers, data people, and business people. Uh, Removing managers from the equation opened up the discussion. What do you think about such an idea?
No, I think, Marin, you've raised a fantastic point. Obviously, it's different from what I'm talking about, is obviously on the lines which is across community. But this is where, if you're wondering if one needs to have a community internally, if you have many employees, like obviously, if you have a company more than 1,000 plus employees, I think internal community is much needed. And I like the point where you mentioned about obviously eliminating the part where they can impress their managers. Let's not have the managers in there, rather have like those folks who are working, who are like the data engineers, I would say in our case, and those business level folks who are actually are the decision makers. Because what will happen is, when the business starts talking, the engineers can actually go out and talk about their problems. And when they do that, we're bridging the gap between the engineering and the business goals. And to be honest, every manager out there will want to, go out and achieve the business goal first and then talk about the engineering bit. But when you're bringing them in a community, I think you're already solving that problems, because I've also seen, just to take an example, where a lot of vendors go out there and, obviously sell different types of software to or tools, and the business decision makers kind of say that, okay, this is all we need, because they are the decision makers. But there are a lot of times when the engineering aspects, kind of feel that, like, the engineering team kind of feels that, oh, this is not of use to us. We're using something which is way more complex and better than this at the same time. So those types of things could be, bridged in such type of community, and it can go a long way, 100% for the business, and at the same time for those engineers who are kind of struggling. But not only just that, obviously, in terms of, you know talking about different things in which easily they can't go out and discuss about, in company meetings or in their own team meetings. I think this is a good platform for them to go out and talk about different things, but at the same time, talk about what the competitors are doing, or if they feel there's something that they can adapt and move forward. So for the company goals, I think this type of community kind of is amazing.
Artur, I need to follow up now. I will give you the next one. You mentioned very important thing. We have vendors coming to decision makers, to managers, and selling their software. Okay, so let's say that we have this community, internal community, which works on the knowledge base and let's say the technology base that is available in the company. So there is this community. And now, actually, I'm a bit contradicting myself, but if we disconnect managers from this community, managers who are being sold to may not have visibility of what is really available. So how would we bridge this gap between, because I'm thinking from the senior manager, like, I have this company and they showed me this beautiful PowerPoint slides and all these little Venn diagrams and all these little, colorful charts. And it seems like I will buy it, and our results will skyrocket. And how can we bridge? Because we have this community which developed the solutions, which understands the limitations of this new vendor, and they understand the little print. How do we bridge this gap? Because honestly, I'm at the loss now.
Yeah, no, I think, Marian, when I was, even explaining that point, I thought it myself. When I'm talking about the business people in the community, it kind of feels that, okay, those are the managers itself, or those are the decision makers much more in the leadership team. But what I feel is maybe just create a separate channel in a community. Obviously, we can have different channels, and one channel would be specifically about new tools, new softwares, new ways to get the ball rolling and go upscale the team in a different direction. Just have the business people, because the business people, managers, also don't want to go out and have that talking, or they can't follow so much talking every day. So rather just keep them in this channel, which will be limited to something what they are looking at, and this would be for brainstorming, where the engineering teams can actually come up with ideas and put that proposal in a way which is kind of informal, that these are the tools which we feel we should be adapting to, have those clean data, have that data which will actually be processed very smoothly. It will be taking much lesser time, and just going out and convincing the management in a way where management can ask questions, the managers, the business people can have those right, I would say, get those right insights in a very informal way. And when they go out there and, are making, even those managers who are going out there and, trying to finalize some vendors or some softwares, I think this platform could be a great way where, 5 engineers might say that, okay, this is the pros, these are the cons, but we feel that the pros would overtake the cons and we would want to go with this. So a good polling can be done, and those types of things, kind of built a good community internally, but at the same time, it also gives a good confidence to businesses where the managers, the management is not taking decisions only because they are influenced by uh, the salespeople or others in the community. Because there are times where I've seen leaders obviously going out and taking decisions because they also have another company where they are advisors, and that company has adapted a software, and now they feel that they can have the same similar software, but the businesses are kind of
Different.
different. So how can it work in the same company? And that's what is a good differentiating factor. But it's basically, in the data community or in any community, to be honest, there's a huge gap when there are many employees. If you're going about 1,000 employees, there's a huge gap between the business people,
Data people, software
the
development teams. No,
exactly, these
absolutely.
people we need to bring them together. And when you say having an internal community, only community internally would work is when it's limited to the company, but also having access to the management at the same time,
To
where
decision
the
makers.
technical.
No, it's a brilliant simple solution. Like, have different spaces. So the space where we talk about stuff without brownie points, and a communication channel where, again, the I don't think CTO has time to read all the discussions and try to dig out the nuggets of gold from the pile of noise that will be generated
Not at
around it.
all. Yeah.
Okay, Artur, your turn.
But
Because
thank you very much.
I have million questions, so I'm right now actively suppressing myself.
I kind of I'm listening to this discussion about how this community should be built, and I'm still thinking, how to do it in practice, because just like building a company culture, and we had a discussion with in another episode about what's company culture, and whether you can build it or whether it happens by itself. Again, it's kind of there's we're talking about the best practices, how to organize the channels. Who actually is going to do the organization? In your experience, when you've seen these communities actually emerge, were they grassroots initiatives where employees have been kind of building them? Do you see the CTO kind of putting the word out there and giving a platform, or do you see it somewhere in the middle, something very organic?
So basically, it depends on. To be honest, I don't want to be diplomatic, but it depends on company to company on that front. Where it is. I've seen companies which are open source, obviously, which have an open source community. They want to go out and build a community. Just in where they have like even 100 users or contributors. They want to start building their community from grassroots. But this is about obviously having an external community. When we're talking about the internal community as well, I've seen companies with just 20 employees, and now feel that we are growing, we have funding, we want to go ahead and get more 20 engineers joining us. So this is the right time when we built a place where our communication is kind of centralized. And when you have that, from the grassroots level, it goes long way, because now it's in the practice of the other 20 who are joining. But at the same time, those 5 engineers who have started building it from scratch, who could actually navigate internally and tell these 20 engineers that this is what we've done, this is how the code works, these are the softwares that kind of support what we are doing, and these are the gaps in what we are doing, and we want to achieve these gaps to make sure that we are going to the next level. Now, can you guys suggest us about the next steps, how we can fill this gap? Maybe talk about software, maybe talk about resource, talk about bringing in a new strategy. I think that kind of goes long way. I've seen companies going from seed series to now unicorns, just because they had the communication in place from day one. And that's what I feel kind of is a key to win internally as well. And at the same time, the team is kind of closer to each other. But challenges come when you have 200 employees or 200 engineers. Now, how do they talk? There's so much noise, or not all those 200 folks would be that open to talk, about it in a Slack channel or in a channel which is accessible to everyone. And to be honest, typical engineers, they come from the nerd world. To be honest, no offense to any engineers, but obviously they love to be in their own world, because they program, they code, they are in their own space, and they don't want to have like so much of communication or so much of suggestions. And that's why what companies do is they keep those gatekeepers, which could be the managers, but at the same time, these could be the team leads who are very close to, who have small teams of 5 or 6 people and can collate their communication and bring it to the group altogether. So that kind of goes long way. But again, obviously, I know I've given a long answer here, but I feel is starting with the grassroots kind of goes long way. But now, when we talk about companies which already have like 1,000 employees, how do they do it? Again, the strategy I would say is step two, maybe have those 10 gatekeepers who can talk for 200 people and 20 people each from their team, and bring them together, get them to a place where they can say that, okay, this is what our team suggests. This will actually bridge the gap between 3 teams or 4 teams, and it will actually fill those gaps which we are looking at in the future as well. The current hurdles will be solved, and even the clients, what they're looking out for, our teams are ready to go out and do it in a way where we have these tools, and these tools will support to get to the next level with the clients as well. So the having those gatekeepers, I feel kind of makes a lot of sense, rather than uh, uh, thinking or wondering that, oh, we'll have those 200 or 500 engineers going out and communicating. That's not going to happen, because engineers don't want to talk so much.
So
Okay,
you actually mentioned open source software, and it's very interesting because it does look like the mindset and organization required to develop a data community is very similar to the mindset
Yeah.
and organization required. We will have an episode on open source software in data science
Wow.
very soon. So that will be a topic we'll tackle there as well.
I will get back. I will again play the old grumpy guy. So let's say I am a senior
natural to you.
manager. Absolutely, it's just me being me. I am a senior manager, and other than selecting or making people select these gatekeepers, how can I support this community? So I need to have this let's say, some channel or space where we can discuss. I need to make sure that they have their own behind the closed door space where management doesn't interfere. There is this channel between them and me. They have these gatekeepers. What else can I do to help this? As Artur said, there is a risk that I will overdo it and I will throttle the community by influencing it too much. So I need to give them the space to grow. But is there anything, me as a senior manager, that I can do to accelerate? We had an amazing episode about creating this innovation labs where there was like dedicated space and I don't know, shared workforce or working time space for business people to work with data professionals. So let's say, but the question is, when it comes to communities, something which is not as formal as Innovation Lab, like what can I do to really support them?
I feel one thing, there are a few things that come to my mind. Is one thing for sure, go out and make sure that, first of all, you're having those feedback form rolled out and anonymous ones, because if you want to learn and if you want to get those real time insights about where people are going wrong or what they feel, where, how easily can things be done, but it's, kind of complex at the moment. I feel roll out that feedback form, and trust me, you'll get so many good answers you might have never imagined about, because people feel when they are on a form, they're not questioned back, and rather they could be heard. And that's what I've seen a lot of such type of practices in big companies where they have like 10,000 employees. They want to see like at least 1,000 of those people from if they have 3,000 people in the data world, like in the data department, if they can get like even 1,000 responses, that's a big win for them, because now they've heard 1,000 people, which they would have never heard in a meeting or on a Slack channel or on a community, or even going one on one. Because sometimes, most of the times, it's about the miscommunication. Even when I say, obviously, there are gatekeepers. Gatekeepers can also go wrong about communicating what those 20 folks have actually mentioned about. And if out of 10 gatekeepers, two of those kind of go wrong, there's again, you guys are in the same bucket where you guys were. So there's no solution. Rather, you're just depending on the 80% of the gatekeepers who have mentioned something. But these are technical things. You need to understand that even 20% kind of matters. If everyone wants to bridge that gap, you need to be all 100%. And I feel feedback forms kind of, since it's written, it's out there, you can read it, you can understand what you kind of wanting to achieve. You can go out with that. Other thing, obviously, going in, doing things which are long term, about giving spotlight to these engineers, these data professionals, about what they're doing. Give them that space to come out and talk about the product that you already have. Get them tied to the product managers, which we haven't obviously spoken a lot about, but they kind of play a very important role, not only just in the marketing, sales, the business, or even the executive team, because they have a lot of say when they go out and make sure that the customer likes the product. And they are the real, I would say, evangelists out there, who are saying that, okay, the customer feels the product UI doesn't support what they're looking for. How can we make changes, but changes in a way which will actually be something relevant for other 100 customers as well? So it's a huge, I would say, a huge I, I feel a huge responsibility for the product managers. And if if you're connecting those technical folks to your product managers, they're good friends. If they are good friends, because say product managers are already good friends with sales, marketing, the business owners, the management. But if they're good friends with the technical folks, trust me, the technical folks can go out and do wonders to get their customers happy, and the product managers benefit out of it. And that's what we want to make. That's what we want. Every company wants to achieve, is where their technical folks are kind of friends with the product managers, the product marketers, because only those product managers, marketers have, our partnership level folks have access to customers, and they are listening the right feedback from the customer and bringing back to these technical folks.
Just
So
to make
that's,
just to make a
yeah.
note, you mean both internal and external customers. The product doesn't have to be something which is customer facing instead outside. It can be internal products used by the business where the customer is actually in a marketing department or business department.
No, 100%, yes.
In my work, when it comes to architectures, like for big companies with extremely diverse data users, I I advise to consider implementing data mesh where you have people from business working with people from data, working with people from IT on a domain level. I guess the communities are serving similar function of bringing together these three functions. It may not be, but do you think it's advisable you have these gatekeepers? I guess each gatekeeper is serving a single, I would say, domain, like area of operations. would it be advisable to create some intra-domain fora or micro communities where these 20 people who until now spoke with just Gatekeeper would talk to other people from their product? Because I'm wondering if these product managers that you mentioned, are they transparent enough, so to speak? Or do they have ability to transfer all the information? Don't they become bottlenecks in the communication? Like, should we think of? I'm not sure. I'm asking. Like micro communities around the products where we take users and product manager and technical team together, or is product manager enough? I don't know.
So basically, to be that's a very good question, and that's a dilemma in even in people's mind when in the teams internally as well. Like, because product managers have a huge responsibility, as I mentioned. If they have a 500K customer sitting out there, they are managing their portfolio, and if that customer says this is how we want and this is how the UI UX kind of fits in with our customers whom we are providing the software with, this product manager is in huge trouble because there are other customers using the same UI and UX. Now, how is technical team going to make those changes, particularly for this vendor or this
Subset.
customer? So exactly, it's kind of, and these product managers, when they come back to obviously the technical folks, they they can only give the feedback that this is what we feel. Now, can you make those changes? And the technical team says that, okay, when we were shipping this to the client, we made it according to what they needed. Now they've come up with a new change because they feel that their customers don't like the UI or UX, but there are other 100 customers who are using the same thing. And if we want to make those customizations, obviously there's a cost involved. There's obviously profitability, which will start playing a very important role. There'll be more tools that we would need to make sure that the company, that the software is adjusted as per the client's requirement. And then and obviously the technical folks won't say anything. They would say, okay, we can do it, but we need these things in place. And this will go on to obviously another 200K of costing, and we can make those changes for sure just for this client. And it's a mess because now the product manager see the portfolio going 200K lower, and earlier it was 500K. Now they feel that, okay, we are just and the product manager would want to convince the technical folks, is there some other way out? Because I feel the technical folks are time bounded. They have those deadlines. They want to make sure that they are achieving it very quickly. And they would want to use the right tools and the fastest tools which can get them to places. Obviously, with cost cutting, they can go with tools which are not to that high level, and go out and say that, okay, the expenditure would be 100K instead of 200K. But that's a huge, like, even when we are having that type of communication, it's already a bottleneck for the product managers, because the product managers won't be able to say that we can't go on the costing. We want it to, like, obviously they themselves, the product team, would want it to be the same amount of the revenue that they are seeing from this customer. They don't want to go out and spend another 200K just on the client. So those types of things, I think, with the micro communities as well, it's not going to resolve. It's a problem which will still continue. It can only be resolved when, the real business kind of understands it. And those business leaders, if they come in and say that, yeah, okay, we are, we are keeping those margins for such type of customer where we have, like, okay, it's a 500K customer and we are expecting it to have some expenditure of say 200K, which is almost 20%. I think it's still huge, and business leaders don't say that ever, but somewhere I feel they do, and they do know the game very well, where even if we are going out with a customer which is 500K, we'll have a good expenditure of 200K according to the needs and costings and even the resources that we're using. So I think only business leaders can come out and say to the product managers that go ahead, we are okay with the expenditure, but they never do that, because that's how I think the business functions, and that's how I feel the product managers also go a long way to convince the technical folks that we want to make it more reliable, we want to make it more cost effective for our team as well, and that's the only thing. But I don't think micro communities would be, interested to, like, even if that discussion kind of goes in, this is the same way how it will be discussed. It can be like the product managers can easily discuss it with the gatekeeper, and the gatekeeper can
Mhm.
go out and tell it to those 20 people,
Okay.
20 folks, that this is what we feel.
Yeah. Okay. It makes sense. I have another, question. More about, let's say, let's get off this specific, let's say, business type
Yeah.
communities and talk general. Uh, in most communities, there are different types of people. There are those who are, let's say, a bit louder, more strong opinionated. There are those who are sometimes obnoxious. In our different podcasts, we discussed, we had a whole podcast about ego and role of the ego in business. Now we are talking about communities, especially
Mm.
I think it's important in communities of technical people, because as you noticed, very often
And
don't
informal ones, yeah.
Yeah.
Informal communities of people who very often are introverts. I know it's a stereotype, and I know mm, software developers by education, by heart, who are now, in example, running a podcast, going very extrovertic
Wow.
ways. But we need to respect that many people in software development or data world, they are a bit more introvert. And as
Hmm.
much as it's a stereotype, I know that there are coaches saying they need to leave their zone of comfort. No, I personally believe in leaving people in their comfort zone, where they do the job that they are being paid for. They do it well, and now we are looking for ways of extracting more value from them, maybe also giving them value, but without breaking their character. So,
Yeah.
do you have any advice on running these communities in a way that they are not hijacked by some loudest, but I mean,
Yeah.
mean well. I'm not saying it's nefarious or malevolent, but
Malicious.
malicious.
Yep.
It's but like every community has these people who are just taking over the discussion. How do you propose? Because it's very much, let's say, now I'm thinking about this part where we remove the managers, because if you have high level manager, he can say, oh, you and you just shut up, you and you talk. But we have this informal community.
So I think, in terms of the informal community as well, it's you're right, where there are people who might dominate the community, and obviously, since they are kind of loud out there, there are some intelligent people who are like, I know better than you, but I'm an introvert and I don't want to talk about it unless someone comes and talks to me. So that's why what we do is always, when we are coming out with communities, we make sure that there are different channels for everyone. Even when you go to a meetup or conference, there are different types of sets of stages and topics that are kind of discussed, and those kind of bring the right character of people. If just to take an example, obviously, when I see a open source community, and I'll see there are obviously channels like, which are basic channels like introduce yourself, events, talk about your stuff that you're doing, like the shameless plugs that you can do,
Mm-hmm.
and the technical bits, which is where the engineers and most of the contributors would be active in, because they might. I'm an engineer out there. I don't want to talk about how what people. I don't want to listen to people who are solving problems for their customers using the code, using this product in various ways. But I would rather want to take on those problems which the community can solve, and I'll go in that technical Slack, especially where I can put in my code and ask folks that what do you think about it, and will it serve my purpose? This is what my problem looks like, and this is where I'm stuck. And there will be like obviously, since it's an open source community Slack channel, there'll be so many people who would go out and respond, because and those are the typical same characters who have joined this community. For they're nerds, they want to actually just talk about coding, and that channel is specifically for them. For those who want to be business leaders or thought leaders and have that loud voice, they might go out and talk about the product and how they're solving the problem for different customers, using this maybe the open source community or the repository basically. So I think those channels kind of is the best way to even channelize these characters, where they can go out and talk about what they're doing, and they kind of feel happy that we are in good place, where what we want to talk about, we have our specific channel, we'll go out and talk about it. If you say, obviously there are folks who might want to dominate that space as well, I think it's kind of difficult with the coding, because if someone's dominating in that space, obviously he's a huge contributor, and the other engineer would actually not feel dominated, but actually look up to that person and ask questions and say that, okay, I'm kind of wanting to learn from what this guy is doing. And you basically, that will actually build a good community. And that's how, is those are the crux of communities, where like-minded folks are coming together and making sure that they can learn from each other. But at the same time, there are obviously folks who are loud and who go out there and talk about different things. They don't go a long way if they are specifically going out and being dominant, I would say. Rather, community understands that very well. And a community is this place where you need to be a giver first, rather than feeling that, okay, there's you can be an influencer just in a day, or you can influence people or talk about different things. I feel folks need to understand one thing very well: the person who brings a lot of content, a lot of value and impact to the other community members, and if they are kind of educating them in the right way, that will only get you to a place where you'll be a good part of the community, and others will want to follow you because now you've done so much for them. So but still, you're still a part of the community. You still need to learn from others. You still need to contribute. You still need to bring back that value, why people should follow you or why people should learn from you. And I think that's like a successful community. So no, don't worry about someone who's loud or dominant. If they are out there, and
if they bring value, they have full right to be loud and being seen. Mm-hmm.
And I think the combination of this kind of contribution mentality plus the gatekeepers that we've spoken about before, that combination should ensure a certain shaping of the community that is actually focusing it in the right direction, on the right topic. And then it's I mean, a lot of the communities, because obviously we don't want to create another Reddit, but there are a lot of communities out there focused on software development, on open source, as you say, and I think those will be very good role models for this kind of community.
I've heard that they plan to rename programming to Searching Stack Overflow, but I'm not sure if it's just a rumor.
Yeah, the whole discipline is just going to be masters in Stack Overflow searching instead of master in computer science.
I have another question, if you don't mind. Because we speak a lot and we work a lot as a consultancy with knowledge transfer. And as I didn't bring up Stack Overflow by accident, the question is, how do you structure the knowledge which is shared? Because you spoke a lot about, I would say, the tooling of data communities, but it's not
Yeah.
about just sitting with a cup of coffee and discussing. It's about having the proper tooling to build these communities. I loved what you said about channeling the people into the channels. Okay, this is who shouts the loudest channel. This is who thinks the smartest the channel. Well, I hope I didn't oversimplify it too much. But is there any suggestion on, because I guess if it's a big community, amount of information generated and knowledge generated is enormous. So masters in searching Stack Overflow, I guess, is not that stupid as it sounds, because the amount of knowledge also there is gigantic. Do you have any advice on structuring this knowledge? Because let's say I am the contributor. Not that I am, but let's imagine, like, please stretch your imagination. I am the contributor. I am saying, let's say, something important for the community, and then I'm gone. I'm not able to repeat or direct people. Yeah, I actually answered this type of question 9 months ago on this channel. Like, how would you approach ensuring that the knowledge generated within the community is, I would say, corporate knowledge? Again, I'm coming back to this corporate communities, but how would you ensure? Is there any tooling or approach that you would suggest to ensure findability of the generated knowledge?
Yeah, I think with big corporates, it's kind of super easy for them to just have it over their Slacks itself, because it's easy when you have a pro version. You can just find it in like tips. Even if I have to go somewhere where it's like something that we've spoken in 2020, I easily do it like just by searching a keyword. So that's how it kind of works very well for community. But if you're thinking around something which is in, that's why most of the the open source communities are on Slack as well, because they feel that it's kind of discoverable very easily. The folks who have written some code, if they even write something on the similar lines, they can easily find it, even if it's like 5 years back. So those types of things kind of work. If you're wondering if going out and creating something which is a software for these folks where they can have their codes and then it's available for everyone, they can do that easily. But we already have Stack Overflow for that. So then I feel that's one of the biggest communities out there. And obviously when we learn about the Stack Overflow as well, like when I started, I know, like, obviously when I started following it, I know I was working for Pack Publishing, and we were actually following Stack Overflow to understand what are the trends, what are people actually looking at, because we used to commission books, and these are IT books, data science, AI type of books, where there are different types of languages that we are writing books on, and how many users are out there. So it's a benchmark out there, and if you want to actually learn about the code in general, Stack Overflow is your place. But if you're looking out for open source communities, I think they already have these Slack channels where everyone kind of writes in. You can easily go out and search about it. So I feel, even engineers or the business leaders, they don't want to overcomplicate this space. There's already, like you mentioned, there are, first of all, so many people, and then there's enormous number of content already. So these folks don't want to have like another channel where, oh, we're doing more things now and you can come and input your info here. They don't want to go on and do that extra overboard stuff. But I feel, yeah.
I have the last question. Stack Overflow, and I've seen people actively, let's say, showing off their badges on Stack Overflow. Do you think the gamification is a way to make the channels or communication channels and communities livelier, or is it a waste of time?
It does help. when it's a huge community? Like, obviously, I'll keep this answer very short because that's what it is. If the community is huge, and with every community that we're talking about today, don't expect that community to have like more than 35% of the folks active. I've never seen a community with 10,000 members and all the 10,000 members are talking, because half of the community is just there to learn. And when they reach a level, then they want to contribute. Or maybe they have other problems, like you mentioned about being an introvert. They still don't feel that they have the right channels that they should be talking about. If there's, I'm sure if there's a channel which is which says that this channel is for introverts, I'm sure those 6,500 people out of the 10,000 would be in that channel, and then still they won't talk.
And it will be empty. It will be just like, black screen, like still waiting for at least hello.
Exactly. So, obviously that's what I feel with the gamification. It's gonna go out with the larger number of folks in a community. If it's a small community, it's not gonna matter a lot.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
I think this was extremely useful, and we've got this kind of pile of advice about creating the communities, which hopefully should enable people who are interested in this to create either communities within a company to help specific goals, specific projects with specific technologies, or more kind of wider, between companies, share the experience, spread the best practices. I think this is quite universal, and as you said, depending on the conditions, you just tweak the methodology a bit and adapt it. If people want to learn more about kind of what you advocate and what you evangelize about, obviously they have the Ravit Show. How they can contact you?
So the best place to reach out to me is obviously on LinkedIn, where I'm quite active. I'm making sure that I'm kind of diligently, I try to respond to everyone possible. And you can also reach out to the www.theravitshow.com, where you can find all the leaders who I've interviewed. You can learn about different resources that we share on LinkedIn as well. For me, a community kind of comes first, and also the content that community needs comes first. So you guys can reach out to me on LinkedIn, my website, or also check out the Ravit Show YouTube channel. We always do once a week shows with leaders, and these are live shows. So you might enjoy. You might also get a chance to come closer to these CEOs, CTOs, and ask some interesting questions about their journey. Not only just that, if you feel okay, you want to ask something about the products and services, that's the place. But I know I've overplugged myself, but you can find me on these channels. Yeah.
No, that's good, because we've only had an hour, and this is just dipping the toe in this vast area of information that obviously is explored much deeper on your channel. So people who are interested, I'm sure they will
follow there.
They will use that. Yeah, follow up. Thank you very much for your time. I think that's all we have time for. And as always, let's hope it was of use to someone. Thank you for listening.
Make sure you check out the Ravit Show. As usual, the link will be available in the notes to this episode.
Also, don't miss the next one, where we'll be talking about explainable AI. To discuss with us the practical aspects of making your AI and machine learning models explainable, we've invited Serge Massid, data scientist specializing in agriculture with a background in entrepreneurship and web app development, and author of the Interpretable Machine Learning with Python.
Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform or visit video.show to find out more about future episodes and guests. You can also check out Cognition.llc for more information on cognition threat solutions, our services, and other events hosted by us.
For now, thank you from myself, Artur and my co-host, your friendly neighborhood data guy, Dr. Marian.
Thank you and goodbye.